Lord God, we just come to you tonight just seeking your wisdom and blessings on us, Lord, as we formulate rules and regulations for our city, Lord. And Lord, I just want to pray not only for our city, but our country during this time, Lord, that you give the leadership of our country the knowledge and will to do what's right. I ask in your name, amen.
Amen.
Will you please silence your phones? Lewis, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Wait.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're slow.
I had to wait for the old.
Nancy, will you please call roll?
Chris Foster.
Here.
Sharon Williams.
Here.
Casey Griffin. Here. Louis Short.
Here.
Jim Lay.
Here.
Allie Sugg.
Do that.
Paula Sporn. Here. Cole Muse.
Here.
Terry Lynn.
Here.
And the press.
City Council meeting for the month of October 2020, please come to order. Next item on the agenda, waive reading and approve the minutes as presented from September 17th, 2020, council
So moved.
meeting.
Second.
Nancy,
Who made the motion?
who made that motion?
I thought
Sharon.
Sharon.
Didn't you? We both did it at the same time, someone.
I just heard you.
Okay.
Okay, so now who's the second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Jim Lay.
Yes.
Paula Sporn.
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Louis Short.
Yes.
Chris Foster.
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Casey Griffin. Abstain.
Motion carried. Next item is approve the payments journal for the month of September 2020. Do we have a motion?
I'm gonna move, we approve.
Second.
Jim Lay.
Yes.
Casey Griffin. Yes. Chris Foster.
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Louis Short.
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Paula Sporn.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is the approval of street, sanitation, general, community center, O&M, and miscellaneous funds for the month of September.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Nancy?
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Paula Sporn.
Yes.
Jim Lay.
Yes.
Louis Short.
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Casey Griffin. Yes. Chris Foster.
Yes.
Motion carried. Unfinished business, there is none. Next item is the audit for,
Jimmy, you skipped the whole
did
number
I skip
seven.
the whole thing?
Department head.
Supervisor reports.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have the supervisor's reports in your packets. Are there any questions for the supervisors?
I have one. We got Public Works here tonight?
We do not.
We do not. The trees that were taken out in the cemetery, was that them, or did we hire somebody to do that?
We hired, we hired somebody to do that. Yeah.
Just that, they were the dead ones that were standing to the left there as you go in.
Right,
Or to the
yeah.
right. Okay. Then my next question is, Doug's here, but the fire chief is not here. Where's our fire report? Not in the package.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get one?
I did not get it.
Okay. With department heads, remember to please include their mandatory reports in the future. And I do want to say congratulations to the Public Works Department for picking up all the limbs, especially Ward 2 on Trailwood, et cetera. I know they worked overtime and after hours and didn't complain, and they've done a good job, and if you see them on the street, they deserve a pat on the back.
We're glad to get caught up, getting a lot less phone calls.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that new truck helped.
Me too.
Paul, the fire report comes in color and I can't print in color, so he's supposed to bring that to me physically in paper so it's color so I can get it, because I can't print color, so that's, I just hadn't gotten one all this time. And I didn't run into him to remind him, so.
Okay,
Well, if you get one, would you put it in our box, please?
yeah, we'd like to have one.
Okay, now there's unfinished business, there's none. We'll move on to new business. Next item is the audit, the 2020 audit, which was for 2018 and 2019. You have the audit in your packets and the findings in your packets. As you can see, we've addressed one of the findings last month, and one this month with the EFT policy. And other than this, we had a favorable audit. Anybody want to discuss anything on the audit?
When David Gibbs and I went down for advanced finance class, well, he had to go to his wife's retirement party, and he asked me to ask why that they hadn't audited us in 2 years. And I assumed from the answer she gave me was, they're just too busy.
This was a tough audit, having to get all the material and let them take it off-site because of the virus. They couldn't be in our offices, so it was a real challenge. But thank you, David, thank you, Lisa. Y'all did a great job. David, would you got any comments on it?
No, other than it forced us to get everything digitized.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have completed it that quickly if
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the audit?
Make a motion, we accept the results of the audit and the response of the treasurer and the mayor to it.
Second.
Okay, this has 2018 on it,
And 19.
And 19.
but it doesn't have 19. So
18 and
both the
19.
audits are, we're approving, right?
Yeah, because it's a combined deal.
Yeah, the
I know, but it just says
Combined.
2018.
So just in the
But the
minutes.
audit doesn't, the audit's a.
Yeah,
separate-
but in the minutes, it needs to reflect that we're approving
Yeah, I got-
2018 and 19.
Hollis Horn,
Yes.
Paul Muse,
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes?
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Louis Short.
Yes.
motion carried. Next item is the millage rate. At this current time, we're at 4.8. 5 is as far as you can go on a millage. And just comparing us to other communities, Concord, Fairfield Bay, Greers Ferry, I believe they're all at 5. And Higdon, I think, is at 4.4, and Quitman is at 3.9. So, we've talked about this, Jim. I know you wanted some breathing room as we've raised the millage
Just
the
in
last few
case,
years.
you know, there's always expect the unexpected. There's not a lot there, but at least would give us some breathing room, and that's sitting back kind of like we've got emergency reserve funds, and we've got, you know, some money stuck back, but city's getting bigger, expenses are getting bigger, we have to buy more equipment, so kind of like to sit on what we've got for now. We've come out, considering the virus and everything, our finances have really come out good, and I think we're lucky. compared to New York, we're really lucky.
I don't know the exact amount, David. I think, going to 5 would probably generate about $20,000 additional revenues. Isn't that pretty close, David?
It is.
We've got any other comments?
If it's up to me, I'd like to leave it at 4.8, not make it 5.
Second that.
I'm the same way.
Agreed.
Okay.
Because we had a big discussion last year and we raised it a little bit.
Yeah.
A long, hard discussion.
Yeah, we did.
And I would rather leave it at 4.8. Because like Jim said, our tax revenue was good this year. We never really took a lick like we thought we were. So I'd say leave it like it is.
Yeah, I was relieved, cause I was worried, I'm be honest with you, when that virus hit, I was worried, I wasn't sure. I don't think anybody else was, what was gonna happen. Cause a lot of businesses had to shut down, and the only thing I can think of is, people stayed here and spent their money here.
I'll make a motion that we leave the millage as it is at a total of 4.8.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Nancy?
Casey Griffin,
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Did you say?
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Leave it at what it is, 4.8.
Paul Muse,
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is the policy for electronic fund transfer. David, would you want to go through that, or you want me to?
I don't know that we need to go through it all. It's basically just an extension of the ordinance that was passed in 2018. It goes into more detail to the environment that it runs in and the systems that are put in place to process it that the ordinance didn't need to. The ordinance gave us permission to run EFT transactions, and this drills a little bit deeper. Then following on, the policy will be the procedures, which really gets deep and explains every step, even down to the transactions that you have to run. But I would like, if the council sees fit, to at least pass the policy so that we'll have it for legislative audit to review.
Kind of I guess a summary. The system connects together financial institutions so funds can be moved from one bank into an account from another bank. And so and there's a cost reduction on check printing and check production, postage expense, and then the time that it takes for labor and staff. But it's been helpful too.
Well, I went through it, and I had the genius I married go through it, and it's a money saver. It's a good idea.
It's definitely is.
So Terry, we've got this ordinance from 2018, which allows us to authorize that. So do we have to redo that ordinance and change it, or do we just attach this? Is this just the current method that's approved by that?
I can't honestly answer that because I haven't looked at that ordinance that you're referring to, but if
It's
it
the
gave
last
you
two.
the authority to do it, then I would think being in the minutes would be sufficient, as long as the council votes
I
on it.
think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because it says required city must authorize, establish such payment system by ordinance. So we've done that. All we're doing is changing the method it's being done.
How it's being operated. I mean, what are you changing, David? Are you changing anything, or is this just the,
Nothing's changing.
Like the-
Legislative audit, when they came in, gave us a finding on that we did not have it defined in detail enough.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to accomplish with the policy and the detailed procedures that will follow, which will explain the environment that it runs in and the control points that we establish so that we we ensure that there's a secure environment for them to run in.
And is this in writing? Is this a written policy?
Yes.
I think you could vote on it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because we've already got the ordinance, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Simple to jump.
I move we approve it.
Second.
Okay, Jim Lay,
Yes.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams,
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is the bond reports for parks and the water department. Y'all all have that in front of you. The first series is 2015A, that's the community center parks outstanding balance. The rest of it's water and sewers.
Well, gonna have to give us time to find it.
There you go. These three. That one, that one, and that one.
I read the warrants, but I can't remember which one is which.
Do you have to have approval of this, Jimmy? Or is it
I'm
just for
sorry?
information?
I'm sorry?
Is it just for information, or do you have to have?
No, we have to have approval. Yeah. This is part of the,
So let's let the
What,
other side,
David?
let the other side of the room do some work.
Here, let
Mr.
David.
Mayor, and members of the
Yeah, I
council,
agree.
each year we have to review the contracts that have been installed from the water department and the parks department. And they have to be reviewed to ensure there's no preferential treatment for any entities that would use the facility or purchase water from the water department. And so there should be signed documents in the packet where we met with both the water department and the parks department. And it's our opinion that there were no contracts that would jeopardize the tax exempt status of the bonds. And that's the main purpose of reviewing the contracts. Now, in the past years, you've had copies of the reports that were submitted to the treasurer of the state. But this year, they changed their format for reporting, and instead of filling out those forms, they implemented a web portal where we can go in and enter the series and the outstanding and issued bonds and the interest rates and all the other fun details for them. So in lieu of those forms that we submitted, we created just a single sheet that summarizes the bonds, both the original issue and the outstanding as of June 30th of this year.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody have any other questions?
We just need to make a
I
motion.
don't think we actually vote on this. I think we just, we have to present this to the council annually, so.
No.
And, no, we do need a vote?
Is it a vote to approve it or a vote to accept it?
Accepted.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion, we accept this presented for the outstanding balances on the bonds.
Second.
I just thought that had to be reflected in the minutes.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item, this is on an officer that was promoted to corporal, and he has a $500 a year increase, and we missed that. Chief, do you want to expound on?
Well, it's a correction, I guess you'd say, in
And that's 500 for,
500 for the
For the
remainder.
remainder.
And 1,000 beginning of 2021.
okay. Any other questions? Need a motion to accept as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion? Who made the motion?
Lewis.
Lewis?
Okay. Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams,
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is, we have a grant from White River Planning for a piece of equipment. It's called a skid steer loader. And it ran a little bit over the $20,000 mark that we have to stay with, or stay under. And, this machine is a $66,000 machine, well, $82,000 machine. We've been given a 32% discount of $30,000. And so the entire machine cost is $66,072.47. And we receive a grant of $41,508.77. So the total cost of this machine is $24,563.30. And this will allow us to have what you call high-flow hydraulics, where you can put different attachments on this machine, whether it's buckets or forks, or a mulching machine. So it's a very good opportunity for us through this grant from White River Planning. We did have a couple other bids. Caterpillar was way up there. Kubota was $69,000. And so we do have David, I do have your 3 quotes on that, so.
They're gonna use this sanitation or street?
We're using both.
Both?
But sanitation is where the grant comes from, so.
Okay, so we're gonna pay for it with sanitation money?
You're correct.
Okay.
Or it's a recycle grant is what it is.
Okay.
It'll make it a whole lot easier to load mulch, I'll
Yeah.
tell you that.
Yeah, be good in the compost pile over there.
So you needed approval to spend $24,563.30
Correct.
to finish off the purchase.
From
Correct.
sanitation.
Yeah, from the sanitation funds. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I'm glad to see it was a John Deere that got.
I am too. Nancy?
Paul Muse,
Yes.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Sharon Williams,
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Casey Griffin,
Yes.
Jim Lay.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is our airport lease. I don't know if y'all, this is a pretty long lease.
Yes.
I think the FAA kind of has a little bit to do with that. But the original lease is, your first several pages, gosh. I guess we gotta read this whole thing once, right?
No, you don't have to read it.
We don't?
No, it's, council needs to approve it.
Okay.
Just give me the attaboy on that one.
But the reason for this lease is, we have a gentleman that's, has bought a piece of ground, and it's gonna take a whole lot of fill to get it to where you could build a hangar on it. And so our intention and his intention is to, allow for him to pay $500 a year until he gets that property filled and settled and packed. And then once he builds a hangar, it'll be just like any other hangar lease, depending on the size of it. And, normally that's about, wait, is Charlie here?
Yep.
Charlie, what is that per square foot?
About 51 cents a foot per
Okay.
year. Because
Okay.
the 60 hanger runs 1,800 and some odd dollars a year back to the city.
Okay.
So after it's filled and packed, then how much money is he gonna pay for the hangar and
Well, then it'll
leasing the
go
property?
then it'll go to the standard
To the standard lease?
standard release.
For a
rate.
hangar?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, how y'all understand that, Charlie and Jeff? Okay.
Charlie, we have, and Jimmy and I were talking about this outside, we have no other space for hangars at the moment, is that correct, without extensive fill?
That is correct. No viable.
So unless we go out past where the hangars are now and start filling, going out in there, or buy something flat, which is not, there's nothing flat next to our airport
That's right.
on that side where the hangars are, so we need some fill out there.
We did talk about taking down the old shop hangar, is what we call it, and then leveling that hill that's behind it. And I don't know how many you could fit in there, but Charlie, didn't we account that we could probably lease another 20 to 30 hangars?
Very possible.
Yeah.
We're in the process right now of relocating the rotating beacon. And if you remember, when that beacon sets up on high ground, and that would give us quite a lot of material that we could level in there and prepare a site for. What I think of would be the nested hangar, where airplanes would start nose to tail, but there would be a party wall separating them. Anyway, that's our long-range plan.
Yeah, yeah.
So all you need is permission to use this new lease form for this particular instance, and then when the hangar's built, then
Then it'll. go
Exhibit
to
3
the
will
original
become the
size.
normal rate.
Correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion, because I'd like to see some more hangars out there.
Second.
Paul Muse,
Yes.
Hollis Bourne,
Yes.
Jim Lai,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is an encroachment at 626 Brook. Doug, would you like to present that to us?
We've been approached, once again, this is our lovely GPS surveying, has picked up a structure that is inside of has an encroachment on it, and they are trying to sell the property and are needing verification of where the encroachment, that is why we
And what's the encroachment on?
The masonry, on the front of the building is setback is over by 0.4 feet, so 3 inches. That is number 4 on your notes. Mortgage companies won't touch anything with any kind of encroachment whatsoever. This is not the shortest one we've ever had, but it's close.
Basically 6 inches on each side.
half a brick.
Yeah. I make a motion, we approve this setback, I read this situation, 6 inches.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Nancy?
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Paula Sporn.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is an encroachment at 3016 Case Ford Road. Doug?
Once again, this is UPS at its finest, the front. Gonna be the south east side of the building has a step in it, and it is 6.8 feet off of the property line, and the setbacks are 7.5, so it's, roughly about 8 inches into the setback. And they're asking for acknowledgement.
I'll make the motion to approve 3016 Case Ford Road.
Second.
Nancy?
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Paul Muse,
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is a plat variance ordinance. Doug, you wanna?
This ordinance was given to us by, a law firm, I can't remember the name of it, trying to resolve some issues we've had at Bright Point. The city does not have any kind of blanket variance, policy. Each lot would have to have its own variance. What's been approved, if I read this correctly, what has been approved in the past, basically is null and void now because of an adoption of a map amendment that was made in 14. And this kind of goes back and allows what was platted back then to be, for those setbacks and regulations to be used. And we can do an entire subdivision blanket, one time versus individuals, you know, maybe 20, 30, 40. There is some, changes that, Mr. Lenz suggested. Planning and zoning did hold a public hearing on this, and approved it to be presented as it was presented to us to you. Mr. Lynn's come back, there is a couple of, items to delete, and it's wording, in section 3, A3, and in section B3, delete or improvements in the vicinity, and also eliminate the emergency clause for the ordinance. He's also suggested that we could add a section, section 4C, which gives the owner or whoever's applying for this 30 days to have it recorded as a safeguard to make sure that they are actually recorded at the courthouse.
And we don't have those suggested changes.
I'll be honest, I read this thing 3 times and my head hurt each time worse. And I was still confused when I was done reading it. This came from the law firm to you or to us and bypassed you?
Well, it came to, I think, to the mayor's office, actually.
Then you wanted to make those changes?
Well, I'm not well, the easy one is an emergency clause. I don't see an emergency.
I don't, yeah, I
So
agree.
I don't think that's a problem. The, our improvements in the vicinity. The other section, I was talking to Doug earlier, and he says that planning and zoning is in the process of drafting a proposed ordinance, is that correct?
Either an ordinance or a revision, we need to discuss it.
About when these documents need to be recorded on that. Now, with that said, let me back up and tell you about the ordinance. The ordinance, Doug gave you a very good presentation there, but it also applies to future subdivisions. So let's say I'll go into planning and zoning and I have a subdivision I'm proposing to plat out and I'm wanting setbacks less than R1 and it's in an R1 zone. Well, and planning and zoning approves that, that's a variance because they've given them less setbacks. The rules and regulations of planning and zoning also say that if you get a variance, you have to act on it within a year. So, Brighton Point, and that's the best example I can give you, was approved back in 2004.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's still being developed out. So this not only, it's an attempt to approve all those, because there may be more than Brighton Point, for all we know. And to going forward, if they approve one, and it takes them 5 years to build in that subdivision, or 20 years to build in that subdivision, those variances, or that variance would still be accepted by the city. That's what this ordinance does. You know, years ago, we did the PUD, and we've all talked about the PUD a lot, and the PUD, the purpose of the PUD was to allow things like this, so you could still request a PUD, but this also helps address subdivisions that are out there. As far as the suggestions I've made, that's up to the council, you know, whatever you folks want to do, naturally. I had just, those, after reviewing it, those are recommendations I had. Doug and I talked very good about the recording. I think it is very important to be recorded within a defined time. If planning and zoning were to come forward with another ordinance that had that wording about recording it, and he talked about 60 days, I think they're discussing. That can still happen either way, but a plat needs to be recorded. All that stuff needs to be recorded when it's approved at the courthouse within a certain period of time. So whether it's 30 days or 60 days, or we don't even include that, that's up to the council here tonight. You said you didn't get, you should have gotten an email. When did you send that out? A couple of days ago?
I think it was yesterday when because I got it at 10:43.
Okay. You might not have seen it yet.
Because what I have
Mr.
is
Short.
section 4A and B, it doesn't have a C on it.
I got it.
Yeah, you got, that would have been the first one you got.
Okay.
That's the original draft as we received it in the first email from Nancy, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So you should have gotten possibly another email from Lisa
I've got it.
yesterday. But those are the only, and I made a point, I put that front page on it so you know exactly the only changes that were made to it. So you can accept them or change them or approve it or not approve it, strictly up to the council.
Now, does the council have the original ordinance, or do they have this new? They have the original?
We have the original.
Well, they had the original and the new one, and, you know, as far as readings tonight, I've got both of them here, so. And we can, from that standpoint.
Any thoughts from the council on?
I think if we're gonna do this, we need to do what Terry's suggestion is, do that.
I'm sorry?
Do Terry's suggestion with those removals and additions, that one? He's the attorney now.
Doug, it's just, the ordinance that P and Z's working on, it will address the emergency clause and.
It will not address the emergency clause, it will address the recording.
Okay.
We're having to go back and look we're gonna make a list as to exactly what's gotta be published, what doesn't, how long it's gotta be published, what's public input, what's public hearing, who's going to record it. But it's for anything that planning and zoning does, variances, zone changes, subdivisions, replats.
And let me say this about what Doug's talking about. That can still happen. This is just putting a deadline into this ordinance, and when you come back with your new ordinance, if it amends the recording requirements, it would effectively amend that provision of this ordinance too. So, and change it to 60 days if that works better, if you think.
Terry, do you want to read it from this, or from the new?
I'll read it from whatever the council
Since,
requests me to read it from. Those are incorporated, those
Yeah.
changes are incorporated in here.
Okay, in the new, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Would you like for me to read one of the ordinances? I'll read either one of them.
Will
doesn't
you read
matter.
the revised one?
Okay, all right. An ordinance providing for the revision to the subdivision ordinances and rules and regulations of the city of Heber Springs and for other purposes. Whereas it has been and has continued to be the intent of the city of Heber Springs, the city, to allow for the efficient development of property within the jurisdiction of the city. Whereas in order to provide for the efficient development of property within the jurisdiction of the city has previously required and continues to require developers seeking a subdivision of property within the jurisdiction of the city to indicate variances from the ordinances with regards to planning and zoning, to indicate such requested variances and submittals of plan applications for approval. Whereas in order to ensure the efficient and timely review of such submittals of plat applications for approval, the Planning Commission of the city, in its capacity acting as the Board of Adjustment of the city, has reviewed and continues to review such requested variances noted with plat applications for approval. Whereas the approval of subdivision plats require adequate notice to those affected parties of the consideration of the Planning Commission's Board of Adjustment and the city of such variance request as submitted with plat applications for approval. Whereas by approval of subdivision plats, the city has and continues to approve requested variances to the ordinances and regulations of the Planning Commission and subdivision regulations, as such variances have been and continue to be shown on plats submitted to the Planning Commission for approval. Whereas such approval of subdivision plats by the city have been intended in the past, are deemed, and shall continue to operate of approval by the Board of Adjustment and the city of such requested variances as shown on such approved plats by the city and recorded in the official records of Cleveland County, Arkansas. Whereas the Planning Commission of the city of Heber Springs has recommended the adoption of regulations with regards to plat variances, and whereas in order to ensure that such subdivision plats approved by the Planning Commission and the city provide evidence of the approval of such variances, the City Council has determined to expressly provide in its ordinances such variance approval by plat approval. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Heber Springs, Arkansas, that the regulations of the Planning Commission and the subdivision rules and regulations which are incorporated herein are amended to provide as follows. Section 1, plat variance purpose. In order to ensure the efficient subdivision and development of property within the jurisdiction of the city, plat variances shall allow for the departure from the strict application of the design requirements and dimensional requirements for plat design and layout as may be applied in the various zoning districts. Plat variances are variances from existing zoning and planning ordinances, regulations, or codes which are specifically depicted or described on a preliminary plat, final plat, boundary line adjustment, or general binding site plan or specific binding site plan which has been approved by the Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, or the city. Section 2, plat variance application. Plat variances shall be deemed submitted when accompanied by a boundary line adjustment, preliminary plat, final plat, general binding site plan, or specific binding site plan. The nature of the plat variance shall be either described in a text note on the face of the drawing or shown and depicted in the drawing. Plat variances shall not be required for the design or dimensional changes and allowances as may be approved pursuant to a planned unit development. Section 3, plat variance approval criteria. In granting approval for a variance from plat requirements, the review authority must find that the criteria in subsection A or B of this section apply. Section A, criteria for variance to alleviate unnecessary hardship. That the proposed plat is clearly in an area or of a type that contains extraordinary conditions of existing development pattern, topography, access, location, shape, size, narrowness, shallowness, drainage, or other unusual or exceptional circumstances or conditions such that strict compliance with specific requirements of this title would create a particular hardship for the property owner. Number 2, that the hardship to the property owner outweighs the public benefit to be derived from the strict compliance with the specified zoning or planning requirements. Section 3, that granting of the variance will not be unduly detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property. B, criteria for variance to achieve better design. The variance will allow for enhanced neighborhood compatibility and an enhanced plan design which is more practical given the constraints of topography, critical areas or subject property, shape or size, and which is consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. Number 2, that the benefit of the enhanced design to the property owner and the community outweighs the public benefit to be derived from strict compliance with the specified zoning or planning requirements. Section 3, the granting of the variance will not be unduly detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property. Section 4, effective final plat approval. A, upon the approval by the Planning Commission of the preliminary plat, final plat, boundary line adjustment, general binding site plan, or specific binding site plan, the plat variance is depicted or described on such drawing or plat shall be deemed approved and effective. B, all previously approved preliminary plats, final plats, boundary line adjustments, general binding site plans, or specific binding site plans containing plat variances as described herein, whether or not approved prior to the effective date of this ordinance, are deemed to contain and so do contain valid plat variances approved for all purposes by the Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, and the city, and such property owners benefiting from such plat variances may rely on such plat variances with regards to the development of such property. C, each plat approved shall be appropriately recorded by the owner within 30 days of its approval by the Planning Commission. Section 5, time limitation on variances. As it is understood, plat variances are often done with the contemplation with the development of multiple properties which may not be capable of being developed within certain time limitations for variances as enumerated in the ordinance of the city. Such time limitations with regards to plat variances are modified as follows. A, to the extent that any ordinance of the city provides a time limit on variances granted pursuant to the ordinance of the city, such time limitation shall be inapplicable to plat variances, whether such plat variances were granted before or after this ordinance. All plat variances shall continue in full force and effect until specifically repealed by an expressed act of the city. B, to the extent that any variances, which are plat variances, shall have been deemed to have expired, such plat variances shall be reinstated and may be relied upon by the owner of the property benefiting from such plat variance. Section 6, repeal of conflicting provisions. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 7, severability. In the event that any portion, provision, subsection, section, or part of this ordinance is later ruled to be invalid, invalidity, shall not affect the other provisions of this ordinance, which can be given effect without the invalid portion or portions, and to this end, the provisions of this ordinance are declared to be severable.
Thank you, Terry.
Sir.
Are you gonna read the
Have any?
emergency clause?
No.
No, I read the.
That's all.
Okay.
I read the revised ordinance.
I've got one question.
Okay.
This would apply the same to property we annex in the future?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve this ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion?
We don't have to do this 3 times?
Now we have, yes, we have to
So you wanna
read
make
by
it
title only.
Suspend the rules and place it on second reading by title only.
Second.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Paul Muse,
Yes.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Sharon Williams.
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
An ordinance providing for the revision to the subdivision ordinances and rules and regulations of the city of Heber Springs and for other purposes.
Move we suspend the rules and place it by title only on third reading.
Do we have to vote on the second reading?
No.
That's what we just did.
Okay.
Second.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Sharon Williams,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Can you read the
Jim
title
Lay.
one more time?
Jim Lay.
Yes.
An ordinance providing for the revision to the subdivision ordinances and rules and regulations of the city of Heber Springs and for other purposes.
Now you can make a motion to adopt.
Move we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Let the other side work.
Paula Sporn,
Yes.
Sharon Williams,
Yes.
Casey Griffin.
Yes.
Chris Foster,
Yes.
Louis Short,
Yes.
Jim Lay,
Yes.
Paul Muse.
Yes.
Motion carried. I don't know that we need to do this.
No, we didn't do the emergency clause.
Okay.
Will we do the one on the sand yet?
We have a, kind of a new,
That's what you're,
I'm sorry.
is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Kind of a new area here, this is mayor's discussion. And what I wanted to discuss tonight is we have a FEMA claim from 2017 that we've had a lot of drainage issues, a few bridge. We've got about 3 or 4 of those projects that still are not completed. And of course, we had to keep putting off the Sandy Beach project because of the high water. And it looks like it's gonna cooperate at this time. And, the total, let me see here. The total, here I am. The total cost is $427,113. The FEMA reimbursement is $320,334.75. So our part would be $106,778.25. So I'm asking the council if we want to continue on and have this. They gave us, I can't remember how many yards of sand, but, Nick, do you know that? 13,000 yards, so it's quite a bit of sand, and, we're going with a finer sand out of Batesville. It will really help us on the beach and from now and for years to come. And they were also allowed, not part of this, quite a bit of gravel on that as well, so, we'll be able to kind of rehab the boat launch there at Sandy Beach, and also the drives that go into the overflow parking area. So it'll be quite a rehab for Sandy Beach.
And this money will
There's
come out
something
of Park Department?
I'm sorry?
Money will come out of the Park Department?
Yeah, yeah.
So without sand, it's not Sandy Beach.
Correct. Do we have a motion?
So what we have to do is accept the bid from BWC Builders and agree to spend the balance of 106,778.80, or 25, right?
Correct.
When do they anticipate starting if we approve this?
I think probably within 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes,
Yeah,